The Black Phone was directed by Scott Derrickson and stars Ethan Hawke and Mason Thames, and is based on a short story by Joe Hill, the son of Stephen King. In this, you follow a young boy named Finney Shaw, played by Thames, who is kidnapped by someone named the Grabber, played by Hawke, and is being held in a basement somewhere which is unknown, and there seem to be a lot of cases that have happened like this over the last few months. However, when there's a black phone which is in this place which suddenly starts to ring, he eventually answers it, and it turns out that it's connected to victims of the Grabber, and that could potentially help him get out of the situation. I was very excited for this movie. I've seen a lot of Scott Derrickson's horror movies before this, and I think he's done an incredible job with each and every one of them. I still remember seeing Sinister with a bunch of my friends when it first released, and I remember thinking, for a PG-13 horror movie, this is one of the creepiest things in a lot of ways, and that was a really great film. But other stuff that he's done along the way as well gave me a lot of confidence going into this movie. And The Black Phone has been hyped up quite a bit, and I can safely say after seeing it that I had a pretty good time with it. This is a really, really engaging horror movie, and it's a very tense thriller as well, and more so the secondary than the former, and a lot of that is thanks to Derrickson's direction. He constantly keeps you on edge, and while it's a slow build at first, it takes about 20-25 minutes, I would say, to really get going. When it does eventually get to that point, even the build to it really works out, and eventually it gives you context on certain things happening, which is obviously important, which is simple, but sometimes you don't get that. And so the fact that the film kind of fills you in on all of that, and it gives you that sort of intense experience throughout, and it kind of keeps you wondering how it's all going to go down eventually, is really great. It's also helped by some very good performances, especially from Mason Thames and Madeline McGraw, who are playing brother and sister. The sister, she seems to want to help in some way, but she might have something that could potentially help out in the situation, and her performance was fantastic. But Mason Thames, who this movie is mostly about, is fantastic in here. He really is doing an outstanding job of acting out these very tough scenarios and keeping you on the edge of your seat. And Ethan Hawke as the Grabber is fantastic as well. I mean, really, everybody in this movie did a really good job. He's very creepy and terrifying, and he has a very unsettling vibe every time he's on screen. There's stuff that he's doing with his mask at times where it keeps changing the lower layer of it, which is constantly, due to expressions in that moment. And that particular design choice I thought was really cool. Like, if there is a moment where he's incredibly angry about something, there's this frowny face that he has. When it's something more gleeful, it's this gigantic grin. Or if there's just nothing much, it's just a blank, like, Matrix O's face, or Multiverse of Madness, I guess now you can say. But I really like that particular aspect to it. It added to so much of the creepiness of this character. As the film progresses, I found myself thinking it could have been a little more developed in terms of his character. Like, you don't really get to know much about the Grabber. Like, they keep things just unanswered. There's one thing in particular with the character that they build up quite a bit and has a big role to play, but you don't get much into that after a while, and some stuff that's set up doesn't really go anywhere. I would say those were the biggest issues for me in the movie. Some things just do remain unanswered and vague. I'm okay with that, but if there is a little more that it could add to why certain things are happening, that would have been a little great. But it kind of feels in line with the Stephen King story, and some things just never get explained, and they're just there. So, like, the supernatural elements in this, for instance, all the stuff that's happening with the Black Phone, it's okay, like, I'm in the moment, but when you're thinking about it, like, how is this working over here like this and not like this in other moments, it's like, whatever, sure. Again, it's one of those Stephen King things you just don't always get answers to, but then you'd be critiquing most of Stephen King, or Joe Hill in this particular case, who's clearly taken from his dad. You'd have to look at every other work. But aside from all of those things, I had a really good time watching The Black Phone. I'm very excited to see it again, though. I only wish that I'd seen it with a bigger audience, because I saw this early in the morning and there weren't a lot of people. So I feel like with a bunch more people, this would be a really great audience experience. I like that they had some trailers going where they had the audience reactions with the night vision recorded, like the older horror movies. It just gave it that kind of vibe that this is what we're getting into. And if you get a chance to see it, it's out in theaters now. So if you do, go check it out. I really do recommend it for horror movie fans, especially if you're fans of Scott Derrickson. There's a lot to like in here. Some very creepy vibes throughout, some really great moments, and like I said, it remains a little underdeveloped at times with certain things, but it doesn't take away from the overall feeling of the movie, which is that of immense satisfaction by the end of it. I'm gonna give The Black Phone an 8 out of 10. Guys, thank you very much for watching, and that about catches me up on the movie releases thanks to the whole vacation thing. Now I know where I'm at with that. I've already caught up with Obi-Wan, so the next review is going to be for the Umbrella Academy Season 3. I'm going to start going into that and then eventually talk about it with you guys. And as always, if you like this, please do subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys at the movies.